Okay, here's the video for 8.22. The question is this valid or not? I'm going to do this by hand just to give you, again, more practice with doing these by hand to prepare you for the midterm. So there's the argument form, and the question is it valid or not? You always start by making the conclusion false, and then you break down what that means. So if I make this false, what's the main connective? The main connective is the arrow. So I put a false there under the main connective. And then you got to think back to the truth table. When is the only case when the arrow is false? It's with the TF, the true-false combo. That means the left side, in this case just A, has to be true, and the right side has to be false. What's the main connective on the right side? It's the AND, so the AND has to be false. And now you continue to break it down. B and C have to be false. I'm sorry, AND is false. Well, there's a lot of combinations for that. You got to think about the truth table for AND. AND is only true when both sides are true. That means it's false when at least one side is false. We don't know for sure if B is false or C is false. It could be that one side is true, the other is false. We just don't know, or both sides are false. So when that happens, you go upstairs and fill in what you do know. You know already that A, which you just did right here, has to be true. So I put a true above the A. And then the B is what we don't know. Remember what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the premises true and the conclusion false. If you can make the premises true and conclusion false, it follows from the definition of validity that the argument is invalid. It is possible. You can assign truth assignments. So there's the possible part to make the premises true and conclusion false. But if it's impossible, if no matter how you assign these things, it's impossible to make that true and that false at the same time, that means it's valid. Okay? So to make the top one, the premise, true, if A is true, B definitely cannot be false, because if it were false, TF would make that false. So B, no choice, has to be true. That makes the arrow true above. I go back down below now, that same B here, I've made that true, yeah? And then now, can I make this AND false? Yes. Well, I have to make C false, okay? Now that you've done that with those assignments, you just pick concrete, actual sentences for A, B, and C, because you can't do a world with capital A, capital B, capital C is true or false. This is the abstract form. You need to make it concrete. So I could choose, for example, there's any number of things I could choose here, but just make it easy. A is A equals cube, I don't know, C. It doesn't have to do anything with it. Cube C. B could be tet F, and C could be dodec, I don't know, D. Yeah? And then now, with those things, you make the same form of argument on the other side. So you just copy and paste that same thing. So A here is cube C, arrow, B is tet F, and then on the other side, A is cube C, arrow, parentheses, what is your B? Tet F, and C is dodec D. According to the assignment you just did here, where you broke it down, you know that cube C has to be true, tet F has to be true, cube C has to be true, tet F has to be true, and C, your C of here, abstract C, has to be false, so dodec D has to be false. You read this off when you build your world, and you just sort of imitate that. So cube C has to be true. It doesn't tell you anything about sizes. Tet F, you call that C. Tet F has to be true. So you do that, and then you read this last piece off. Dodec D has to be false. So I could make it a cube again. You submit both your sentences. So you're going to save this as sentences 8.22 and world 8.22, and that shows that it's invalid. Again, this is good practice by hand. Given this argument, how do you make it invalid? Meaning, how do you make the premise true and conclusion false? This way of breaking it down I just did is practice for that. All right, keep practicing. It's good exercise for the upcoming midterm.